as simple as that sounds, the way you put it, how come there's 70 million Americans that disagree with you? How come maybe it's not disagree with you? Why is it so hard to get the other 70 million to see the data and say, that makes sense, rather than saying, let's just raise the taxes on everybody?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's much easier to be an accountant than it is to be an economist. You would think if you raise taxes on the rich, if they don't change their behavior, they'll pay more, and they're so rich they can afford it. Well, I have a story to tell. If you have a minute,
go for it.
I will tell you my make-believe story of Robinhood that I introduced economics. But it takes about 3 minutes or 4 minutes. Something.
Go for it.
You know, Robinhood would wake up in the morning, and this is your mom telling you the story. Robinhood stole from the rich and he gave to the poor. He made the poor better off. He was a hero. Made the rich worse off, but they could afford it. You remember the story,
of course.
Well, the story starts off with Robin Hood in Nottingham. He and his band of merry men, they don their light green leisure suits, the curly-toed shoes, the hats with a feather in them, and they go running out to the Trans-Forest Thruway. And when a Richie would come by, I mean a really Richie, this guy didn't have a silver spoon in his mouth. This guy had a golden goblet in his throat, all right, right there. They would jump out of the bushes on him. They'd steal everything the guy had. They'd let him run naked out of the forest back to his castle. But don't worry. That guy has so much left at the castle, he can afford it and do that. If a guy came through the forest, was doing really well, but not a super Richie, they'd take a large chunk of what he had, but not all of it. If a normal, everyday, average merchant came through the forest, they'd just take a token from that guy. In the vernacular of the modern day society, Patrick, they had a progressive stealing structure from the merchants when they came through the forest. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, Robin Hood and his band of merry men would go running back into Nottingham. They'd wander the streets of Nottingham. If they found some guy who was down out, some guy with nothing, I mean, just nothing, they'd give him a whole pile of goodies. If they found an ordinary sort of working poor guy, they'd give him a smaller bundle of goodies. The more you make, the less they give you. The less you make, the more they give you. If you found a normal, everyday, average citizen walking along the streets in Nottingham, what they do is say, hi, my name's Robin Hood. I want to tell you I'm the local redistribution station around here. I just want you to know we love you. Here's $5. Take the wife out to dinner. Have a good time. It's on me. And by the way, if they bumped into someone rich in Nottingham, they just might steal from him too. Okay. Now that's the story. Now let me just imagine bringing economics back into your life. All right. This is going to now become, instead of a moral story, an economic story. Imagine you were a merchant back in the ancient days of Nottingham. How long would it take you to learn not to go through the forest? One trip, maybe? One trip?
That's all it would take.
Those merchants who were really rich with the golden goblets in the throat, they'd hire armed guards to take them through the forest. Now, we call those armed guards today lawyers, accountants, deferred income specialists, lobbyists, favor grabbers, all of that stuff. But they were really hell of expensive back then as they are now. The merchants who couldn't afford the armed guards, they'd go around the forest. Now, the route around the forest to trade was full of rocks, bumps, logs, holes, etc. It cost them a lot more to trade with the neighboring villages. It increased the costs of trade dramatically, both the armed guards and the circuitous routes around there. So they had to sell their products at higher prices. At the end of the day, Robin Hood had no contraband whatsoever because all the guys were so heavily armed he couldn't rip them off. He went back into Nottingham with nothing in his hands to give the poor, the disenfranchised at all, and they had to face much higher prices by stealing from the rich. Robin Hood literally made the poor worse off. And that is the true story of redistribution. Wow. And that is what exactly happens in this society today.
So if you like this little short clip from an interview I did, click over here to watch the entire interview. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.